I come in.
Hi,
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Now you can introduce yourself to all of us. We are 4 people jointly interview करेंगे.
My name is Atiq Ullah. I was born in district Pashin. That is a district along Pak-Afghan border in Balochistan. I have completed my early education from my hometown, and then I moved towards Quetta. From there, I completed my MA English Literature and Linguistics from Namal University with distinction. And then at the same time, I completed my MA Political Science from University of Balochistan with a distinction and a gold medal in it. Continuing my studies, I just defended my MPhil thesis in political science from University of Balochistan. When it comes to competitive exams in 2016, I qualified PCS, but I was not allocated. And then in 2018, again I qualified PCS and I was allocated as a section officer. In 2019, I appeared in CSS and I qualified and I was allocated to the Foreign Services of Pakistan. When it comes to my experience and practical life, in 2016, I started working with the British Council with Democracy Reporting International as a young parliamentary associate. I was placed with the Public Accounts Committee, Balochistan. In 2017, again, I started another project with the British Council. I was placed with the research wing in the Provincial Assembly of Balochistan, and then for 6 months with the translation wing in the Provincial Assembly of Balochistan. When I just completed my PPSA training, that is some sort of common training for PCS officers from Peshawar, and my first posting was with the Balochistan Command and Operations Center that was constituted for dealing with the COVID-19. And then I was posted as a SO police for some months. And in April 2021, I was posted as a section officer with CPA Camp Office, Islamabad. That is administrative wing of SNGD Balochistan.
Thank you. You come from Pishin district.
Yes, sir.
Can you introduce this district of Pishin to all of us? What is, where it is, and
Sir, when it comes to the population of district Pishin, about 0.8 million people are residing in district Pishin. It is an administrative unit of the province.
how many people?
Around 0.8 million, 8 lakh people, according to census 2017. And the literacy rate of Pishin is 72%.
Very good.
When it comes to its the socio-political and cultural orientation of Pishin, it is culturally rich. Basically, the founding member of Pakistan Muslim League in 1930s, Qazi Muhammad Isa, belonged to district Pishin, and it is the main source of income of the people of Pishin is from agriculture. We have got some good apples, grapes, and other watermelon like fruits which are in abundance in district Pishin. That is a brief, what I would say, Pishin.
Atiq Ullah, you have done MPhil.
Yes.
This is Master of Philosophy. Now you tell us something. What is philosophy? You define philosophy and make us understand what is philosophy.
Philosophy, if we talk about MPhil philosophy,
I am talking about concept of philosophy.
Yes.
Define philosophy.
Philosophy is
again, now you are a master of philosopher of the political science.
The desire to learn, and if we precise it in one sentence or in one word, is it the desire to learn or to the study of wisdom, I would say. Acquiring wisdom is philosophy, in precise words, I would say.
So in political science, when you did your Master of Philosophy, just give me the feel that you looked into the philosophy of governance.
I looked into the Federation of Pakistan and the effects of 18th Amendment on the Federation of Pakistan, a case study of Balochistan. My particular concern was Balochistan in terms of legislation after 18th Amendment, in terms of administrative improvement in Balochistan, and in terms of financial management in Balochistan. I just looked into these three areas in the post 18th Amendment.
Okay, you have looked into this part. Now there is a lot of criticism, and people say that we should revisit 18th Amendment. Now, they want to revisit 18th Amendment, or they want to revisit Financial Commission Award?
I would say we need to see it from multiple angles. When we see its financial angle, then we say the federal government is obviously desirous to revisit that part of the amendment. And when we see the devolution of employees, that is something the provincial governments want to revisit. So the federal government wants to revisit that financial aspect of the 18th Amendment, because they cannot revisit it administratively. Article 160 of the 18th Amendment says that after each NFC award, after 7th NFC award, the formula or the share of the provinces should be increased. It cannot be decreased. So this constitutional cover has been given to the 18th, the NFC, 7th NFC award. Now the provinces want to, now the federal government wants to revisit that particular clause of the 18th Amendment. And when it comes to with the rest, the devolution of employees, federal government is happy with it, that they should be.
You tell me, you mean without revisiting that clause, you cannot make any changes in the NFC criteria for distribution of resources?
It can be increased, but it cannot be decreased.
Okay, it can be increased,
but cannot be decreased. The share of provinces can be increased, but cannot be decreased.
Okay, share of provinces.
Share of provinces.
You mean share of provinces cannot be
decreased? It cannot be decreased.
This is given in the
160th
article. Usme diya hai.
Yes.
Acha, this I never knew. Atiq Ullah, in the recent past, we have seen the role of especially international organizations like WHO. We keep on listening the role of IMF. We keep on listening the role of WHO and WTO and this IMF, World Bank. What do you think? What are these institutions? Why they are getting into our business?
Sir, these are multilateral financial institutions. The basic aim of these institutions is to balance the international economic development paradigm. They are out to help the developing countries like Pakistan and other developing countries in the overhauling of their health sector, in the overhauling of their education sector, in the overhauling of their governance sector, in the overhauling of their administrative sector. So they contribute. If we take example of World Bank helps developing countries in the completion of mega development projects like dams, roads, motorways, bridges, which are quite essential for the socio-economic development of developing countries. These are financed by World Bank or Asian Development Bank. When we look at the IMF, it helps in balancing the macroeconomic stability of a country like Pakistan or other developing countries. If Pakistan is facing a current account deficit, and so Pakistan needs dollar, Pakistan or other developing countries, they look towards the IMF for bailout, economic bailout, to fulfill their needs of dollars. Similarly, other financial and multilateral financial institutions are attached with IMF, with the conditionalities of IMF. If a country is financed by IMF, its macroeconomic stability or macroeconomic sector is financed by the IMF. Other development partners contribute in the socio-economic infrastructural development of those countries.
Now, our finance minister was in Washington. The negotiation almost failed. He is back. Now, don't you think that IMF is an international organization and they are just controlling the finances of this country?
Sir, I would say that to some extent this argument is justified, that IMF is controlling our financial paradigm. But when we look into the depth of the situation, we see that our own financial paradigm is stumbling. Our current account deficit is widening. Our foreign exchange reserves are depleting, and our economic growth rate is decreasing. So we have to go with the conditionalities of the IMF, which are quite harsh. Like IMF is trying to impose its will on Pakistan by saying that cut your development budget, increase energy prices, increase gas prices, and increase petroleum prices, which is ultimately burdening the common man, and at the same time which is increasing the cost of production in the country, which is making Pakistan uncompetitive in international market. If our products are uncompetitive in international market, we will not be able to increase our exports, and once our exports do not increase, our economy will remain stagnant as it has been for quite a long time. So therefore, IMF, the conditionalities of IMF are quite harsh, and they have control over it. But Pakistan does not have any other option apart from succumbing to the pressure of IMF.
You were parliamentary associate. That's where the project of British Council. Right? So what do you think that grant or aid whatsoever that helped you to assist the parliamentarians of Balochistan Assembly?
Yes, sir. I was back then we were working on 3 different laws. It was local government law, it was higher education commission law, and it was health commission law. These 3 laws were we were giving technical expertise from the British Council, from Pakistan Institute of Parliamentary Services, which was also, the project was financed by British Council. So we were contributing our part towards the legislation of these essential laws.
My last question. There is a debacle in Quetta. The Balochistan government has fallen. The new government is in the making. What are your views? What is your analysis about the fall and remaking of a government?
Sir, when it comes to the discussion of the fall of the Balochistan government, in a democratic country, in a parliamentary setup, it is a positive sign that there has been a change in the government from within the parliament, from within the provincial assembly. Representatives of the same political party, they resisted the monopolizing nature of the chief minister, so they brought a democratic change from within the house. Now, when it comes to the future, there obviously there will be multiple challenges, because half of the party is divided over supporting Jam Kamal, who was the previous chief minister, and half of the party is supporting Abdul Qudus Bizinjo. So it would be quite interesting to know, to look at the future developments, that how they. But I believe that they are quite good in political management and political engineering. They will be able to form a government under the leadership of Qudus Bizinjo by taking JUIF into the government and excluding PTI, because PTI is
No, but last night they were having a press conference and they said Junajo Bizinjo, he will be the chief minister, and Qudus.
Saleh Botani. Abdul Qudus Bizinjo will be the chief minister, and Saleh Botani will be speaker of the assembly.
So that will be with the help of JUI.
This is what so far we know about the political developments which are taking place in a meeting with
I
the.
saw there, Mr. Khattak was there, the defense minister.
So multiple stakeholders are involved. So they are trying to convince the PTI leadership of Balochistan to go with the Kadus Bisinjo. But
okay, but that press conference, they gave the impression it has been decided that PTI will be supporting.
I don't think so, sir, because Yar Mohammadin is quite antagonistic towards those who are now coming to into power. He could go with Aliani, but it would be quite interesting to look if he is ready to go with Kadus Bisinjo and Saleh Botani, because they are having some sort of tribal rivalries among themselves. And they have fielded their own candidate in the shape of Yar Mohammadin, and they are looking for support from those of Aliani's group and from those of ANP and other groups, because ANP is concerned about its political gains which they have made in the shape of making Job division and Chaman district. So many developments are taking place. Let's see what happens.
Okay, thank you. A pleasure.
PAS is your number one choice. So what is the motivation for that?
Sir, it is my passion to serve in administrative services, in district administration, in other positions of administration. So therefore, I aspire to be allocated to Pakistan Administrative Services.
There are other areas where you can work and serve the country.
But sir, I see my aptitude and my desire or my interest in Pakistan Administrative Services, my personal aptitude.
What is good governance? How will you define?
In one line, I would say when the government responds to the desires or to the needs of the people at their doorstep in the shape of public service delivery, I would call it good governance.
Bernard Shaw, from English literature. How is Bernard Shaw known in English literature?
He was his orientation was leftist because he was part of Fabian Society, and when we look at his dramas, which he has written like The Arms and the Men, in which he was anti-war figure. What I perceive him from that drama, because the way he has mocked those people who idealize the people who go to war, and we make heroes. Those heroes themselves are afraid of death, afraid of war. So I would say he was leftist as well as anti-war figure in English literature.
2 international awards were conferred on him. What were those?
I'm sorry, sir.
Nobel Prize holder, Oscar. How do you see plea bargain as a tool of accountability?
Sir, I think plea bargain is a stigma on the process or on the mechanism of accountability in Pakistan. Because through plea bargain, space is given to those who are involved in corruption, that they, by returning the money which they have stolen, by returning that money, they are given free hand. One thing, and then they are not dismissed from their service. They remain in their position of power, whatever that may be, and they somehow some say it is perceived that they do not return the whole money. They return a small chunk of that money, and the main cause is weak prosecution of our accountability mechanism. We are unable to prosecute those who are involved in corruption, and then we give them an option whether they want to return that money. If they do not return, then the process of prosecuting them takes quite long, which is a burden on the exchequer as well as on the performance of that person as well. Because if he is not involved, then his time is wasted, his energies are wasted, his respect is compromised. If he is convicted, it takes a long time. Therefore, our mechanism has given space to them, which is quite a stigma on our.
Like you're right, 900 billion rupees were recovered through plea bargain. That day he was the chairman, the DG NAB. But in those cases, none of the accused was sent to jail. They say they were convicted, and the money was taken, and as a result of plea bargain, they were released, and none of them was convicted, none of them was sent to jail. You're right, it's a stigma. What are some of the features of Police Order 2002? Some important measures which were proposed for improving the police working.
Some of the important features of police order are that it established a complete chain of command in the police department, and the position of IG was like he became equal to that of chief secretary. He was graded to grade 21.
No. You must go and study the Police Order 2002, because this is your second choice. When you go back, please have a look at it. There were quite a number of, reforms. It was reformatory, and drastic reforms were proposed and introduced in that order. You should go and study them, because PSP is your second choice. Balochistan, we all know, there is A and B area. Don't you think if it is all A area?
Sir, this is quite right. We need to transform this into the whole province into A area. But before transforming them, we need to see the challenges which are faced by the provincial government, because I was working as a SO police, and especially the main obstacle was that of converting levies into police. The hierarchy, their promotion, seniority, and their perks and privileges, these all things were involved in, which is quite a daunting task for the provincial government. If they convert levies into police, it is quite probable that there will be political repercussions for them. So first, there is a need to make a comprehensive plan of converting levies into police, and assuring them that their seniority is not compromised, assuring them that their perks and privileges are not compromised. The second challenge is that of tribal people who are not ready to go with the police, because they think that police is not according to the culture of those tribes in particular areas of the province. But now I feel that people are ready for this conversion. They find no difference between levies and police when it comes to performance. Rather, police is more performing well beyond the jurisdiction of their duties. And now there is another trend, that is rising extremism, which which levies is not equipped and ready enough to counter. Therefore, they need that expertise to be converted.
Right. My last question is, how do you see the Baloch insurgency, the insurgency of Baloch nationalists going on in Balochistan?
Before 2010, there was a rising trend of insurgency, but now we see that this trend is declining due to multiple reasons. The first reason is 18th Amendment, which has somehow demoralized the ethno-nationalists. They have lost ground to the people because people do not trust them. Once people trusted them in 2013, but they failed to perform despite having multiple financial resources at their disposal. And insurgency, the insurgents, especially in Turbat, Kech, and Panjgur Gawadar, in these areas, middle class insurgency was taking place, which has been mainstreamed by engaging the locals of those areas into the mainstream, by giving them jobs. Like we have seen in Turbat, educational enclave has been established, in which cadet college is there, university, medical college is there, law college is there, university is there, Turbat University is there. So people are being engaged with the with stakeholders, and now government has also announced 600 billion rupees project, in which infrastructure development is there, health facilities are to be developed.
Okay, thank you.
Atiq Ullah, you said you were selected for foreign service
Yes.
and you didn't accept it, or what happened?
I deferred it for a year. From 15th of November, our common training program will start.
So
now I've just qualified the written part of CSS 2021, and now I aspire to change my group from FSP to PSP or pass.
So technically you're still in the foreign service,
Yes, I am.
but you deferred it.
I deferred it for a year. On 15th of November, our training will start. Common training program will start.
Acha. But that means you lose your seniority.
Yes, I lost my seniority.
Fair enough. Acha, ye bataye, you like Lula da Silva.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about him?
Lula da Silva was the president of Brazil from 2003 to 2013. He belonged to the National Workers' Party. He was the leader of National Workers' Party. During his regime, Brazil, especially the middle class of Brazil, emerged as a dominant force. Brazil developed, progressed, while taking the downtrodden along with because in most of the countries, when we see the development paradigm, we see that the poorer are further cornered and the rich get richer. But in the case of Brazil, under the leadership of Lula da Silva, this was an exception where the middle class also expanded. People got money, and though rich people also made money. But along with this, the middle class was also expanded, and people from lower class also made money. That was something quite positive.
That is true. Lula was a big favorite at that time. But then why did he have a downfall?
In politics, these things happen. He became the victim of political vendetta at the hands of, would say, elite establishment, at the hands of his own party insiders. He was victimized, and he was persecuted, or say prosecuted.
There was no corruption or nothing.
No, I don't think so. It was even the claim or the accusation against him was just of a plate which he does not own, where he does not live, where nothing was concrete was there against him. It was just a political vendetta to oust him from the mainstream because the elites didn't like him.
And you said one of your favorite books was Faith and Feminism. Do you think they are in harmony or they're in contradiction?
They are. You are talking about Faith and Feminism or the book?
No, I'm talking in principle, in general, not the book.
They are in harmony, but the thing is that who interprets religion, that matters. It is not about religion and feminism, or faith and feminism. It is about the interpreter that matters. If interpreter is an orthodox, as Afyazia says, that if it is an orthodox person, he would obviously say that there is no right for women in the religion. But if we see a feminist who is interpreting the text, he or she would obviously find they are in harmony. So it matters. It depends on the interpreter.
And how do you interpret?
I interpret they are quite in harmony, and religion is something that is not only for men, that is for women as well, and it facilitates women as much as it facilitates men. It is unfortunate that our historical trajectory is something in which men has dominated the paradigm. Otherwise, it is quite in harmony.
Could you tell us something about Ricodic?
Ricodic was a project in which natural resources like gold, copper, and silver were to be excavated from Charhi district of Balochistan. Now it is under a state-sponsored company of China. They are excavating gold from that area. With the 48% or 50% of the share is given to the state of Pakistan, and 50% of the share, the income or the revenue generated through it is goes to China. Out of that 50%, 2% is given to Balochistan, and rest of 48% is goes to the federal government.
But there was a problem before China came in, because earlier on it was, the Canadian company, the Chilean Antofagasta.
I have not read this.
Okay, thank you. Which era of the European history fascinates you the most?
The revolutions of 1848 fascinates me the most when it comes to European history, because it was at that point when things started changing. The overall socio-economic, political, and religious paradigm started changing. Though revolution took place in France in 1789, changes started to take place from there. But its climax or its culminating point was 1848, when those powers or preachers of conservatism had no more space in the society. They had to succumb to the pressure of liberals and those humanists who were struggling for the rights of men and women.
And what do you think, the Talibans are going to have an inclusive government? And if not, why not?
I think Taliban are going to form an inclusive government, but definitely it would take time, because the thing, if we study the demography of Afghanistan, the geography of Afghanistan, it tells us that it is 100 years old issue. That sometimes we see that other ethnic groups are dominating Kabul, and sometimes Pashtuns are dominating Kabul. So keeping in view, if history is a teacher, if history tells us something, so Taliban will need some time to form an inclusive government by taking on board to develop that trust deficit which was there, to develop trust among those communities. It will take time, and Taliban will definitely, because they have no other option. If they do not, there is a possibility that that country will plunge into civil war. And Afghanistan cannot afford any more civil war, because it is on the brink of collapse already. So they will have no other option apart from forming an inclusive government.
Thank you very much, Atiq Ullah. I hand over to my other colleague.
Okay, well, Atiq, what do you know about the Proclamation Act 1858?
Proclamation Act 1858. It was an act by the British Parliament in which India was declared as means it was formally given to the British government, and it was taken from the East India Company, which was running the administration of India before the Proclamation Act.
Well, that's nice. Okay, what was the Delhi Muslim proposal? Delhi Muslim proposal, what was that?
Delhi Muslim proposals were presented in 1927 by the Muslim leadership for a separate electorate and for joint electorate, and they gave space to the Congress and invited them for discussions to have joint electorate and a common struggle against the Britishers.
Okay, I have read political science as well. I have a question. You have read John Locke. जॉन लॉक ने आइडिया दिया था कि हेस्टी और जल्दबाजी की जो है लेजिस्लेशन से बचने के लिए हाउस शुड बी डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स, अपर हाउस एंड द लोअर हाउस, हैव्स एंड हैव्स नॉट, जो कि एक दूसरे की लेजिस्लेशन को सेव कर सकते हैं. व्हाट मेजर्स हैव बीन टेकन इन द 1956 कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान, जो वो तो एक हाउस पर बेस करता था, हेस्टी लेजिस्लेशन हैव्स और हैव्स नॉट के दरमियान कैसे बैलेंस कर सकते थे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन?
It was unicameral because the two units means the West Pakistan was formed into West Pakistan was formed into one unit. The 4 provinces of West Pakistan were composed of one unit, and East Pakistan. So equal seats were given to East and West Pakistan. I think 150 seats were given. That's how they thought that one federating unit would balance out the other federating unit in case there is any.
That's nice. My last question is there any difference between Nazism and fascism?
There isn't much difference, but if we talk about the leadership, if we talk about the party organization and their tactics, there is a slight difference, but there is no big difference between them.
What major difference is between fascism and Nazism?
Fascism was in Italy, and Nazism is the fascist version of Germany.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We conclude the formal interview. Now you can ask question if we can give you our feedback if you like.
Sir, you give your feedback and then
Atiq Ullah, you are good, very good. There is no doubt. You have done lot of homework. तुमने बड़ी मेहनत की हुई है जिंदगी में, ठीक है ना? This you are going for these competitive exam is not an easy job. And after doing in the provincial service, then going for the federal services, now again coming to that shows your ambition and your motivation for administrative service. This is something very positive. And you have your academic qualification are very good, and you have been very responsive to all of us. तो कोई ऐसा इशू नहीं है. यू आर इंटेलिजेंट है, आपकी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल भी ठीक है, पोस्चर आपका ठीक है, वॉइस इम्पैक्ट ठीक है, ओरिजिनलिटी है, जो चीज़ वहाँ मैटर करते हैं. कॉन्फिडेंट है, यू आर कॉन्फिडेंट, नॉलेज बेस आपका खासा बेहतर है, ठीक है. बट देयर इज़ ऑलवेज ए रूम फॉर इम्प्रूवमेंट, ठीक है ना. अब आपने करना है इंट्रोडक्शन जिस तरह आपने बनाया है, ठीक है, बताया, इट इज़ वेरी फाइन. तो आप मेहनत करते रहो. कब इंटरव्यू?
3 तारीख को 3 नवंबर.
बस ठीक है, बाकी हफ्ता है तो इस पे अपना जोर लगाओ, ठीक है ना. मैंने इन टच विद द न्यूज़पेपर, IMF है, वर्ल्ड बैंक है, ये इनका रोल ऑफ दीज मल्टीनेशनल एजेंसी जो है ना, इनका सब पढ़ लो. ये ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस के इश्यूज हैं, ठीक है ना, इनको सब पढ़ लो. और अफ़गानिस्तान डिस्कशन में आ जाएगा, बलूचिस्तान भी आएगा. बलूचिस्तान के जो इश्यूज हैं वो अभी डिस्कस नहीं हुए बिकॉज ऑफ टाइम रीज़न. वो भी थोड़ा सा अपडेट हो कि बलूचिस्तान के क्या इश्यूज हैं. ईरान पाकिस्तान का बॉर्डर है, वहाँ के इश्यूज क्या, व्हाट इज़ दिस सोल्यूशन. एक्चुअली बात ये होती है, यू हैव टू गिव सोल्यूशन. सारे ऐसे बुराइयाँ नहीं सुनना चाहते हम, ये नहीं करप्शन करप्शन करप्शन, भाई गिव अस ए सोल्यूशन, ठीक है. दैट इज द पॉइंट.
सर इंट्रोडक्शन में कोई इशू?
इंट्रोडक्शन ठीक है, अब काफ़ी बेहतर.
लेंथी तो ज़्यादा नहीं.
हाँ, लंबा है ज़्यादा, बहुत लंबा.
वो देख लेना सिचुएशन के मुताबिक ही होता है ना.
ठीक है.
अभी देखो ना, बात ये है ना कि अपनी मिरर प्रैक्टिस करते रहो इन द मीनवाइल.
ठीक है.
अखबार और मिरर प्रैक्टिस, ये दोनों चीज़ों पर फोकस करो. टू द पॉइंट बात हो, लंबी ना बात हो ज़्यादा. फिर बाकी वहाँ का माहौल है, अगर वो इजी है. देखो ना, अगर तुम्हारे साथ बलूचिस्तान इशू डिस्कस करते हैं, वो तुम्हारी हाथ में है.
ठीक है सर.
ठीक है ना, वो दैट गेम इज इन योर हैंड. टाइम यही है, वो एक मजमून पे शुरू हो जाओ तो वही ले जाता है.
ठीक है सर.
गवादर, सी पैक, ईरान के साथ इश्यूज हैं, एथनिक इश्यूज हैं बलूचिस्तान के, तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स कितने हैं उनकी, ये सारे इशू. टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटीज के बारे में आएगा एक्शन प्लान, वो भी डिस्कशन में आ जाएगा. तो ठीक है, आई थिंक यू कैन मेक इट. इस वक्त जो कुछ हो तो यू कैन मेक अप टू 220 अकॉर्डिंग टू हमारा लेवल तक जा सकते हो.
ठीक है.
बाकी तो हम प्रैक्टिस ही करवा रहे हैं. बेस्ट ऑफ लक. वहाँ हो सकता है कि माहौल बहुत इजी हो और सारे वो चीज़ें आ जाए तो तुम्हारा अपना सब्जेक्ट है. अब ये जो एसोसिएट रहे हो ना वहाँ पार्लियामेंटेरियन की, इसको भी देख लेना.
ठीक है.
यू शुड बी क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए कि मैं क्या करता रहा हूँ और उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या है, कि वो आप लोगों ने हाउ यू हैव वर्क देयर. ठीक है. ठीक है.
वो पुलिस की आपको कोई पता नहीं है, जो है पुलिस
पता था वो बिल्कुल मैं इस तरह की फौज
स्किप नहीं होना चाहिए. कैसे स्किप हो गया?
पुलिस ऑर्डर पढ़ लेना और लोकल गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डिनेंस पढ़ लेना, और फंक्शन ऑफ डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन क्या होते हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर के, डिस्ट्रिक्ट मैजिस्ट्रेट के.
और दूसरा ये इंसर्जेंसी की जब मैंने आपसे बात की थी, वो देखें वो अभी भी हो रही है ना. ऑलमोस्ट डेली बेसिस पे किलिंग्स हो रही हैं। अभी कोयटा में 2-3 हुई ऊपर नीचे। तो आप जो कह रहे थे कि वो सबसाइड कर गई है और
सिवियरिटी में कमी आई है सर, शिद्दत में कमी आई है।
शिद्दत में कहाँ कमी आई है? चल रही है, आपके सामने है। अभी कितने आदमी वहाँ मारे गए? क्या ये वो जो कैंप जो है उनका
हरनाई में,
फिर उधर वो मतलब इसको ज़रा थोड़ा सा जाकर देखें, इसको ट्राई टू गिव इट ऑब्जेक्टिव लो, ठीक है? ये जो है
मतलब वो बताना चाहिए कि कितनी किलिंग्स हो रही है या
नहीं, मामला तो चल रहा है ना,
जी सर,
स्टिल गोइंग ऑन। अगर कंटेन हुआ है चले, वो अगर आप
देखो ना, ये जो है ना, वो कोई ये आपका कोई वो तो स्टैटिस्टिक है। अगर स्टैटिस्टिक है तो आपको बताना चाहिए कि भाई दीज इंडिकेट कि देयर इज ए प्रॉब्लम इज देयर। ये स्टैटिस्टिक है, बंदे क्यों मार रहे हैं?
प्रॉब्लम तो है ना। अभी आप जो है कितने अभी 13 बंदे मरे थे। वो ये कैंप जो है इनका उधर और उधर हरनाई में है, और फिर जगह जगह उधर ऑलमोस्ट डेली हो रहा है, खारान में और गवादर की तरफ। तो वो
लेकिन है स्पॉन्सर्ड सर, है सारा है इंडियन स्पॉन्सर्ड।
जो भी है,
ईरानी भी हरामजादी करते हैं, इंडिया भी करता है।
ईरानी इंडियंस बहुत करते हैं।
बाकी ठीक है। यू हैव डन अ गुड जॉब, वेरी गुड, शाबाश।
और जिस तरह मैंने आपसे रिकॉर्डिक का पूछा, आई वाज बेसिकली आस्किंग यू कि 18th अमेंडमेंट के बाद, क्योंकि पहले वो और डील थी जब फेडरल के साथ था, जब प्रोविंशियल इशू हुआ तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, वो सारे जो इश्यूज हैं, आई वांटेड यू टू हाईलाइट दैट।
But वो जो CCI में आ गए, पार्ट 2 शेड्यूल पार्ट 2 में आ गए, तो
exactly, which you never mentioned. You only spoke of China. China is just a newcomer and it's a very superficial thing. But Rikodik has a very deep history, which you, as a person coming from Balochistan, one expected you to have spoken more on all these details of the issue. So what I'm trying to say is that even if you have knowledge, you don't express it. Your evaluator will not be able to evaluate you the way they should. So when you're framing your response, think it out and spell it out, putting all the elements in it. But otherwise, you're a good candidate. I'm sure you'll do very well. Wish you all the best.
Well, your answer regarding US history, political science, and Pakistan studies are excellent. Excellent answers. क्रिटिकल क्वेश्चन से मुश्किल क्वेश्चन से सबसे बाकी जो पैनलिस्ट ने बोला, यू डिड एक्सीलेंट।
Thank you so much, sir. It was great meeting you. Thank you so much.